Look at the modern athlete. Exhausted, reliant on pre-workouts, and chasing recovery in expensive cryo chambers. Now, look at a trail cowboy from 1880. No supplements, no gyms. Yet his grip was like iron and his endurance was limitless. They call it the toughest era in history. But biologically, they were superior to us in every way. Just the perfect longevity protocol hidden in a wooden box. In 1867, Charles Goodnight bolted that box to a wagon and changed the human story. It held the secrets to metabolic flexibility and gut resilience that we are only now rediscovering. Hit that subscribe button. Let's count down the 10 forgotten meals that turned men into legends. Son of a gun stew, the nose-to-tail multivitamin. This is the dish that shocked Eastern journalists, but sustained the Western cowboys' hormonal health. While modern diets focus on muscle meat, cowboys practice nose-to-tail eating. This stew used every organ: heart, liver, tongue, and the marrow gut. Science now confirms that organ meats are the most concentrated sources of vitamin A, B12, and K2 on Earth. The marrow gut provided a unique richness that acted as a natural probiotic for the microbiome. They didn't eat it because they were barbaric. They ate it because their bodies craved the nutritional completeness that muscle meat alone can't provide. This respect for the animal's sacrifice ensured a steady flow of zinc and iron into their blood, far superior to any synthetic pill, leading us to a seasonal delicacy that acted as a natural testosterone booster. Prairie oysters, the zinc-rich superfood. This wasn't a novelty, it was a seasonal hit of pure bioavailable zinc and protein. Harvested during spring branding, these were sliced thin and fried fast. Zinc is the master mineral for immune function and male hormonal health. In an era of brutal physical labor, prairie oysters provided the rapid recovery cowboys needed during the hardest work weeks of the year. They wasted nothing, knowing that the delicacies rejected by the city were actually the fuel for their strength. That same search for strength led them to guard a small ceramic crock like it was gold. Sourdough biscuits, the ancient fermentation secret. The sourdough starter was the most valuable item in the chuck wagon. Cowboys didn't use commercial yeast, they used wild fermentation. A cook would keep his starter warm against his own body on cold nights. This process is the holy grail of gut health. The slow fermentation breaks down lectins and gluten, neutralizes phytic acid, and makes the minerals in the flour bioavailable. It turns simple starch into a prebiotic delivery system that prevents systemic inflammation. If the starter died, it was a biological crisis. This tangy, flaky bread wasn't just a side dish. It was the foundation of their digestive resilience, perfectly paired with the original energy drink of the plains. Marrow bone soup, the collagen and stem cell support. Long before bone broth became a $10 premium health product, cowboy cooks were cracking leg bones to expose the marrow. Simmered for hours, these bones released collagen, glycine, and minerals that healed the gut lining and supported joint integrity. Cowboys used this soup specifically to rebuild strength after illness or injury. The marrow provided the healthy fats needed for brain function and cellular repair. It was a recovery protocol borrowed from indigenous wisdom, understanding that the power of the cow was hidden deep inside the bone. This deep nourishment was often supplemented by the only vegetable that could survive 2,000 miles of dust: canned tomatoes, the vascular heart guard. When canning technology arrived in the 1870s, it transformed cowboy health. They ate them cold, straight from the tin. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, but here's the Vaxalis secret. Canned tomatoes are even more potent because the heat of canning makes the lycopene more bioavailable. This powerful antioxidant protects the vascular system and reduces arterial inflammation. For cowboys, the vitamin C was a shield against scurvy, and the acidity helped digest the heavy fats of their diet. They fought over the last can because their bodies instinctively knew they needed that vascular protection to endure the heat of the trail. Jerky, the pure protein reserve. Long before gas station snacks, jerky was survival protein in its purest form. Beef was heavily salted and sun-dried until the moisture vanished. This created a portable, shelf-stable source of high-density amino acids. Chewing jerky slowly triggers enzyme production and provides a steady drip of protein to prevent muscle wasting during long rides. It was the ultimate zero-carb snack that kept them in a state of fat adaptation, allowing them to burn body fat for fuel for hours without a blood sugar crash. This metabolic flexibility was crucial when the only other option was a hard cracker-like biscuit. Hardtack, the caloric resilience anchor. Flour and water baked until rock hard. Men called it sheet iron. While it sounds unappealing, hardtack was a lesson in caloric density. Soaked in coffee for 20 minutes just to make it edible, it provided 75 calories of pure survival energy. For a cowboy, hardtack was the final line of defense against starvation. It allowed them to practice a form of involuntary intermittent fasting, keeping their insulin levels low while still having an emergency energy reserve in their saddlebags. It was a test of grit that prepared them for the metabolic ignition of their favorite beverage, Arbuckles coffee, the metabolic igniter. A cowboy might drink a gallon of Arbuckles a day. This wasn't just a morning ritual, it was metabolic medicine. The caffeine provided a steady boost to the basal metabolic rate, while the high concentration of chlorogenic acid acted as a powerful antioxidant. The egg and sugar glaze used to seal the beans added a tiny hit of protein and glucose when they needed it most. Coffee was their morale, their energy, and their focus. Without it, the drive stopped. It was the dark liquid that allowed them to digest the heaviest fats of the trail, like the salt pork that anchored every meal. Salt pork and beans, the electrolyte balance. Salt pork fried until crisp, with beans soaked in the drippings. Under the hot sun, cowboys lost massive amounts of salt through sweat. The heavy salt in the pork wasn't just a preservative, it was a critical electrolyte replacement. The pinto beans provided 15 grams of prebiotic fiber per serving, keeping their gut microbiome diverse and healthy, despite the monotonous diet. This combination of fat, salt, and fiber was the slow-burn fuel that powered 16-hour days in the saddle. Vinegar pie, the glycemic controller. When fresh fruit was gone, cooks used vinegar and sugar to mimic lemon pie. While it was a dessert, the acetic acid in the vinegar had a hidden biological benefit. It blunts the glucose response. Even a small hit of sugar was mitigated by the vinegar, preventing the massive insulin spikes that lead to metabolic dysfunction. It was a revelation for exhausted taste buds and a clever bit of pantry alchemy that kept the crew happy and metabolically stable. The cowboys of the American West didn't have laboratories, but they had instinct. They knew that wasting these son-of-a-gun organs was a crime against health. They knew that the sourdough crock was a living heirloom of strength. Modern life has traded these dense, bioavailable protocols for prettier fiction and processed convenience. My challenge to you: don't just eat muscle meat. Try a marrow bone, start a sourdough, reclaim the resilience of the trail. Which of these barbaric meals are you brave enough to try? Let me know in the comments if you're Team Spotted Pup or Son-of-a-Gun Stew. At Vaxalis, we don't just study history, we harvest its power. Thanks for watching.